So I'm trans and I'm queer, and I'm actually estranged from my family, which is another reason why I'm so gung-ho about being financially independent, because I don't have anybody to really fall back on. Like, my dad left when I was 14 and he went back to Mexico. And I honestly don't know if he's alive or dead, which is something that's very painful for me to talk about and admit. Even though he was pretty emotionally abusive and narcissistic, it still sucks to be like, I don't know what happened to my dad. But I know that some of your listeners can probably relate to this too. And I haven't seen my mom in 8 years. It's like, I don't have to worry about my parents now, even though I will probably swoop in if I find out my dad's alive and needs help.
Welcome, everybody, back to another exciting show, the About That Water podcast, where we help you build strong financial habits so that you can have the confidence on spending money, talking about money, and enjoying your money. And I have the awesome opportunity to bring on somebody that I met at FinCon. And if you guys haven't heard of FinCon, it is a financial conference that happens every year. But this person actually brought in so much joy, and I was excited to bring them on because they had so much excitement recording their own episode at FinCon.
Yes.
And what's going on, Charly?
Hi, Anthony. Thank you so much for having me and for manning the podcast booth. I'm super happy that you got to watch me pop Miss Chica's cherry. It was her first podcast interview. And I love how you came up to us and you were like, you can be on my podcast. This is Charly's popped your cherry. I was like, okay, you can pop my cherry too. I need to be on About That Wallet now. So we're all just popping each other's cherries.
I know, right? There's a lot of popping going on over here. So one of the things that, I was doing some research and learning a lot about your story because I didn't know who you were at first. I was like, okay, well, somebody's over here ready to record. And that's one of the things I love about going to different conferences, that you get to meet so many different people, so many different walks of life, and where they come from and like their journeys in finance,
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like I would never have met you if it weren't for FinCon. So it was really nice meeting so many people there and kind of meeting other people who were like my internet friends. And just connecting in person with people, because it can be really isolating. I've been running my own money coaching business for 4 years now. So it's not the same. You have to meet people in person. I think FinCon was a total reminder of that.
Yeah. And they always say like the sense of community is something that we have to do as content creators to really make it out there. And I'm not sure if I totally agree, but I do think you do need your tribe for like folks to just kind of do this thing the right way.
Yeah, it's not necessary, but it sure helps me not feel so burnt out. As an ambivert, I like recharging at night by myself, but I realized after FinCon that I am a lot more extroverted than I thought I would be. So after FinCon, I wasted no time like booking a WeWork to just have a co-working space where I could work on my own shit myself, but around people. So yeah, it's not necessary, but depending on your personality type or how do you get energy from people? Do you get it, but then need to recharge like me? I think for me personally, it is a necessity for me to go to more conferences and be around other creatives and business owners in person.
Yeah. So what's the next one you're going to?
I know that TravelCon is going to be in Tucson in, I believe, March of 2025. And I'm excited for that because I'm Traveler Charly, right? And my podcast is called Unicorn Millionaire, and it's heavy on personal finance, but I've also traveled solo to 34 countries all over the world while running my business, from as far away as Thailand. I was in Mexico for 7 months. And so I'm excited to go just see how like my influencer-ness, even though I'm a micro influencer, I have less than 10K followers, but I love them. They're loyal AF. And honestly, I don't need to go viral. Like I like my little nook of the internet, because I don't know, this election, I was not hitting that block button at all. I was like, these are my people. If anything, I gain followers. But I'm excited to meet more travel creatives as well too in Arizona. And there must be money coaches and money nerds out there too.
Of course. Yeah. Because one of the things that I love about your story is that it's not like you didn't take no, you've more than likely took of how come and more of a why. And like your story is so curious of, just how does money work? And I remember you were saying in one of your interviews in the past, you were talking about how you actually used to be if I'm not mistaken, was it
A stockbroker.
Yes, a stockbroker. I want to
Many
say
finance, white men words. Yeah, that was the one. It was
yes.
not Wolf of Wall Street, y'all. I worked in a call center in Indianapolis, sitting my ass on the phone, helping people reset their passwords and learning about stocks. So, yeah.
Nice. So talk about.
I was making 45K. I was not rolling in it. But I felt like it. After doing the Peace Corps and making 30K as a teacher, I was like, oh, I'm going to buy a sports car. I did not. I was just making 45K.
But it started. I love the humble story, is because it's a lot of people always feel bad about getting paid a little bit, but in the industry that they want to get into. And I don't think you actually really wanted to get into finance, was it? At that time?
No, I wanted to teach social studies in high school. I was a history nerd. I loved learning about social studies. And I learned quickly in my 20s that no one wants to hire social studies teachers. Everybody just wants STEM and math and science to be like productive members of society. And I spent my 20s doing the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps, all the Corps, being overworked and exploited, on food stamps, on Medicaid. And so by the time I was in my late 20s, I was like, this is not sustainable. I can't be dog sitting and blogging and side hustling all the time. And that's what made me pivot into personal finance. I didn't even get a real 401k with a solid match until I was 29, because I just did not want future me to worry so much about money. And I'm so happy I did that, which led me to become a money coach. Once I felt that relief of, okay, I don't need to worry about my future self. They're good. Which is why I do what I do every day.
Yeah. So how is that breaking out into your own, because a lot of people are wondering about their current jobs and trying to take that break from, their 9 to 5 and really go full time all into their passion.
I would say start your side hustle while you have your job. I like to see your job as your sugar daddy in the meantime before you peace on out. Like, don't just quit your job and start a business. You have to start your business, problem solve, see what kind of problem you offer that people want to pay you to solve. And once you get that consistent income, then quit. And now I'm saying, do as I say, not as I do. I did not do that.
I like the disclaimer there. Yeah.
So don't come after me. But in 2020, I quit my job when COVID was in full effect in August, because I was ecstatic for the stock market to crash when COVID hit. Even though I was only making 45K, I probably had like a 50K net worth to my name, but I was like salivating that the stock market was crashing because stocks are on sale. And I was like, this is fucked up that I'm excited. I'm not even making that much money. And so I finally knew what I wanted to write my master's degree essay on, because I kind of was like, well, I should get a master's because this 45K crap is not like paying the bills and stacking my 401k that much. So I got a full ride to an MBA from Brandeis. And then I quit my job and I moved to Mexico, which has a much lower cost of living. And I'm a dual citizen. I was born in Mexico. I was undocumented, did not become a US citizen until I was 21. And so I used my stocks, my savings to help me make that confident decision. And having an apartment that was $400 a month, like a 5-minute walk from the beach, definitely helped me not stress out so much about money, which is how I was able to start my business. And by the time I ended up having my MBA a year and a half later, I was like, I'm just going to keep working for myself this whole time, because I never fit in at the 9 to 5.
That is amazing. From just using your stocks, like, who would have thought to use your investments now? Because right now, a lot of people keep thinking like, hey, you should stock your money away until you're retired. Instead of looking at it like, hey, you can actually utilize it while you're alive and well, and still young enough to enjoy it, to travel. Because I know you've seen the memes where it's like two old couple that's like, oh, we finally able to retire, and,
and but we can't even do anything.
Right. We fall asleep on all the excursions. Right.
Yeah. So like that's how was that? How I love breaking people's brains about that. I didn't know that you could just like sell stock without paying a penalty to fund your life, but because I worked as a stockbroker and I saw how many casual millionaires are in this country. And I saw how mostly the middle class or wealthy white people were moving their money around for just daily expenses. They would call us and be like, I have to drop 20 G's on a down payment. Let me sell some stock in my brokerage account. They knew exactly what to do and from which account. They were not liquidating their 401ks. They were not touching their retirement accounts. They were touching the taxable brokerage accounts that are basically like high yield savings accounts on steroids, where the gains are a lot higher, but also if you're not careful, the dips can be a lot more dramatic. So you can't just like go in any day and expect to liquidate. You have to watch what the stock market's doing. But that's a pattern that I noticed these rich people do. They were using these accounts to grow their money way more than they would in a high yield savings account. Because the high yield savings account, you're just not losing money as quickly to inflation. That shit's not growing your money, even if you're making thousands of dollars in interest in a month. And so that's something that I did. Again, as somebody who never made more than 45K, I stacked my brokerage account so that when I realized my master's degree was not helping me start my business at all, the master's degree just helps you become a toy in the system even better and use fancy words to get the job. It does not teach you the skills for entrepreneurship. So I hired my business coach, Kat Del Carmen, a Latina business coach, and she at the time was only charging $3,000 for 3 months of coaching. And I was like, I'm not going to take out my emergency fund for this. So I sold $3,000 of Tesla stock because I hated Elon Musk anyway while I was chilling on the beach at like 6 p.m. and after hours trading. And I just moved money around and paid her. And then the next month I doubled my investment and made $7,500 in revenue through my money coaching business with very minimal expenses as an online business owner. I didn't have employees. I didn't have to pay for a building or anything. So that's like, and my clients, I love showing them how little cash I have. I have $0 in my checking account. You have no business storing cash in your checking account with those crappy interest rates, even at Ally. And I have like $2,000 in cash at a time. And my clients just like who have like hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands in cash. And I show them I only have like $2,000 in cash at a time because of all the other levers I know where to pull from. It's really enlightening for them to see how differently people manage their finances as long as you understand why you're doing it and like your reasons.
Yeah. So what is it something that somebody can do now that are listening? They got super excited about your story to say like, hey, where can I start as far as investing? What should they do?
Listen to this podcast, listen to my podcast. Don't go on Reddit. Don't just listen to random ass people on TikTok because they're just going to tell you what you need to hear, what you want to hear, not what you need to hear.
Yeah.
Right. And even for the month of November, I'm offering one-off calls, which I don't usually do. If you want to do those annoying things that you know you need to get done, like break up with Wells Fargo and their crappy interest rates, or dump Bank of America and leave that toxic relationship and open that high yield savings account. Like it's urgent now more than ever to be on top of your finances before the new year even starts. So that's why I'm doing, I call them November money makeover calls for just 75 minutes. I can give you a queer eye makeover on your finances too. And if you like what I do, you can use that credit to add that to my 6-month money coaching program. Because I usually work with folks for only 6 months at a time minimum. Some of my clients have been working with me for over a year because there's always more and more to build off. So that's my advice. Stop trying to do it yourself and find the free tips and the hacks. There's so much conflicting information out there from people that don't know what they're doing or who might not relate to your experience either. And like hire a coach or pay somebody to hold your hand through it for that accountability. So you make sure you actually get these things done, because money can be scary and it's nice to have somebody walk you through it.
Yeah. And especially if they have that, like you said, that same background, that experience, because, or at least can relate to something, because there's a huge disconnect if you can't even speak the same language.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because, you know, my target audience is the sandwich generation. So they have kids and also they're taking care of their parents as well. So what is it, something that you've been doing to kind of prepare yourself to deal with your parents as they get older?
So I'm trans and I'm queer and I'm actually estranged from my family, which is another reason why I'm so gung-ho about being financially independent, because I don't have anybody to really fall back on. Like my dad left when I was 14 and he went back to Mexico And I honestly don't know if he's alive or dead, which is something that's very painful for me to talk about and admit. Even though he was pretty emotionally abusive and narcissistic, it still sucks to be like, I don't know what happened to my dad. But I know that some of your listeners can probably relate to this too. And I haven't seen my mom in 8 years. It's like, I don't have to worry about my parents now, even though I will probably swoop in if I find out my dad's alive and needs help. I don't know. Or if he isn't alive, I don't know either. So I know that regardless of if they need my help, I'm setting myself up first and making sure I'm good and not just living in emergency mode and the scarcity mode anymore. So regardless of if I know I'm going to have to take care of somebody or not, I have to take care of myself first. And I also don't have kids because honestly, I'm still reparenting myself and like healing my own traumas. And finding out who I am at 34, I feel like my life is still barely beginning because I have the money to allow me to dive into more fulfilling things instead of just living in survival mode. I'm able to be like, okay, who am I really? I'm an artist too. I love to paint and draw. If money weren't a thing, I would be out in the woods in a cabin painting the trees with like goats and chickens and shit, but also close enough to go to the gay club and Zumba class to twerk my ass off. So I think regardless of your situation, you got to take care of yourself first. And especially if you have parents and kids and all these people that you got to take care of, you have to prioritize yourself so you're not burnt out and just grasping, because that really will affect your loved ones too.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I notice a lot of financial, as you could say, not influencers, but people who are providing the information, they don't put into consideration of the people who don't have a legacy to leave on. Besides, like, you know, for me, like I'm not going to have any children either. And one of the things is that from my piece, this is my baby, the podcast, this is my gift to the world. It's like, hey, if this is my journey, these are the people that I've met and had awesome opportunities to kind of have this great conversation with. But that's it. Like financially, I'm like, so this is for me. You can take what you want because, you know, we only live once and let's enjoy it. But
I know some people leave their money to their pets too. You can leave your money to a foundation or a nonprofit that you care about as well. Or if you're like queer like me and have chosen family, your beneficiaries, people you leave your money to, does not have to be blood related as well too. So there's lots of options to leave a legacy. It just doesn't always have to be your kids.
I like that. Yes, that is so true. Thank you for bringing that on.
Of course.
So
for you.
We're going to slide on over to the third segment here, which is the futures. What skills or habits do you feel is going to take you to that next level?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I just thought of FinCon and how I absolutely crushed it.
There you
with
go.
all my skills that I've learned as a business owner. You have to market yourself. You have to hype yourself up. You have to talk about yourself because you're not Pepsi with $1 billion marketing team reminding people to get in on this. You have to celebrate yourself and constantly introduce yourself. And as a business owner, that's something that has been ingrained in me whenever I hop on my Instagram at Traveler Charly with a Y, come twerk along with me. I start every single live, even some of my stories. I assume that there's constantly new people jumping into my radar. And I'm always like, I'm Charly. I'm a non-binary Latinx money coach helping LGBT BIPOC. And I took those skills of introducing and marketing and branding myself with my bright ass outfits and bright colors to FinCon, where even people would just come up to me every day and be like, I love what you're wearing. I have loved watching what you're wearing every single day. Or they've been like, I love how you introduce yourself. Every time you grab the mic to ask a question, you introduce yourself. I'm watching, I'm taking notes. And I think that has been a skill that I've developed, and something that I want to work on this year is getting booked and paid to speak and do more. Yes. Public speaking engagements. And I'm coordinating with the local library in Seattle. In the Seattle area, they're paying me $300 to do a class that I proposed with just over email. We didn't have like a fancy meeting or anything. I was just like, I want to teach people about how to financially prep to buy a home. And they're like, okay, cool. How much you charge? And I was like, I charge way more than this for the corporations, but for the libraries, I love libraries. Like I
Right.
charge $5,000 for a 1-minute reel for the corporations, but for the libraries, like I love libraries. So yeah, pay me $300. That's fine. That's like
Right.
the price of my 1 hour money makeover call. It's fine because I'm trying to get into the practice of public speaking, and I'm looking into hiring a videographer who will film me so I can make my speaker reel and actually start pitching myself. Because if I don't have the reel to show that I speak, how can I pitch myself too? So that's something that I'm excited to currently be working on in 2025, getting booked and paid to speak.
There we go. I love that. And you're very, I guess you could say, not just throwing it out there, but you're throwing it out there with a little bit more detail of just like, yeah, I want to speak. I want to get paid too.
I did that last year and it did not work out. Like you have to make actions. Like manifestation's cool, but you gotta like take action.
Yes. One of your catchphrases I thought was actually pretty cool, which was make money your
bitch.
Yeah, there we go. Can you talk about that
I
a
can
little
cuss
bit?
on this podcast, right? You're like, yeah, I don't cuss, but you can. I was like, okay,
Right.
cool.
Because like I want to do a deeper dive into that just before we go to the final four. Because what is the whole purpose of that particular phrase? Where did that come from?
Because I saw so many people when I was starting my business, when COVID was hitting, people were afraid to talk about money, but there was still such collective grief and fear, especially seeing people wipe out years of savings from their 401ks and selling out of the wrong accounts and just pulling everything out of the stock market when they saw red because they didn't understand what was going on. When in reality, they could have just held for a month or two and their money would have doubled. And there was a lot of pain and grief and fear talking about money, especially in the queer community. Us queers, we love being anti-capitalist, but you also got to be realist. And I think that that's a big pain point for a lot of queer folks. We're queer, we do things differently, and we don't like hoarding wealth. We don't like the idea of billionaires, but like we also, like I keep saying, especially if you're estranged from family, like me as a trans person, you got to take care of yourself. And to do that, you need money. And so that's why I coined that term of let's make money your bitch instead of the other way around, because that was the vibe that I was getting for a lot of people in my community. Like, let's talk about it, get that whip out. We can dominate your money and be happy to watch your net worth grow.
Yeah. Because when you say dominate your money, I thought of like FinDoms, and I was like, oh, that's not
Yes,
that kind of stuff.
femdoms, mask doms, non-binary doms. We love it. I need a femdom in my life because I'm tired of telling everybody what to do. So I'm single. If you're in the Seattle area, or where are you? Are you? Where are you?
This is Maryland, but I do have a lot of people that listen across the United States.
Okay, good. I love DC as well, so I don't want to do long distance. I have 10 years of that as a digital nomad. No. Maybe you're in Maryland and have a hot twin in Seattle. Like, hit me up.
I mean, hey, whoever's listening, they might be able to travel. Like, you know what? I like to travel too. I'm just here in Maryland for a hot second,
Come on out. I'll show you all the green spaces in Seattle. It'll be a good time.
You're killing me.
Come into my wedding. Just say if you find somebody for me.
Okay. I got you. All right. You ready for the final four questions?
Yes.
All right. Number one, what does wealth mean to you?
Wealth means options and self-care, especially with this election just this week. The fact that I help people build wealth and make money their bitch, I realize my work is more important than ever. Just this week, I've gotten 5 massages because I've been so stressed out, and I would not have been able to do that if I didn't have money, if I didn't know where to pull the money from. And make that work and take care of myself so that I can keep showing up for my community. And yeah, money has allowed me to also cook way less. That was a big takeaway from FinCon. When I talked to Rachel Rogers, who was one of the keynote speakers, she's like, y'all need to outsource more because you're doing these basic tasks like the laundry and cleaning when you should really be showing up on podcasts. And I told her when I got coached, I was like, I feel like I should cook because I don't have kids. I don't have a family to take care of. I have all this time, but I'm still drained cooking. And she's like, outsource. And so I bought more pre-made meals this week than I ever have in my life. And I have seen the difference.
Nice.
Not having to spend so much time cooking and just getting back to business, but also resting like clockwork after a long day. I'm like, all right, time to go get a massage. I'm not thinking about it as much because especially as a single person, you got to make all the decisions. I don't have kids and stuff, but I also don't have a partner that can like cook me dinner or tag team with too. So as a single person, money helps me make less decisions. So I can rest and be in my zone of genius. So I love wealth building.
Love it. Number 2, what was your worst money mistake?
Buying so many shares of Sorrento Therapeutics, which was popping in 2020 when all the bros were buying it. When I was a stockbroker, I was like, what is this Sorrento? Okay, it sounds like pasta. But I was day trading it too. And I made a few $100 here and there. It was cute, but then I held on to it for way too long, thinking it was going to help me make money forever. And it went bankrupt, and I've lost like thousands of dollars. Last year, just alone, I made a $5,000 stock sale where I lost that money because I got greedy and held on to it for way too long, and I had no business investing in it. So even as a stockbroker, you can make mistakes, which is why I shared my mistakes and losses with my clients too. Sometimes you got to pay the cost of market tuition, but now I know to buy low cost index funds, maybe some Apple companies I've actually used and heard of instead of Sorrento, and move on and mind my own business and spend my time money coaching and doing something more fulfilling. So it's okay to make mistakes.
Love it. Number 3, what book got you back into reading?
What book got me back into reading? It has nothing to do with money, because when I read books, I try not to read too many books about money because that's like my world all day. I'm in it. And so I'm more of like a very creative person. And I just read a book called World of Wonders. And I like reading about nature too. My inner child loves nature. As a kid, I used to go out in the fields and like hunt ladybugs and draw them. And that was a book that really, it's a good storytelling book where she'll come up with like an animal or a plant and tie it back to her childhood and how it was significant for her. And I feel like that's something that I could see myself doing. And I love the cover art too. So that book's helped me get back into reading.
Love it. Number 4, what is your favorite dish to make?
I'm like overcooking now that I've been going to Trader Joe's and buying all these pre-made meals. I know how to cook, but I don't want to. So I think I'm more of, yesterday I made some cauliflower gnocchi with some kale and pasta. Pasta is easy to make. I don't know why I keep thinking of enchiladas. I never fucking make enchiladas. I think in theory, I would love to make enchiladas because it sounds easy. So we'll just go with that.
Like drizzling sauce over some tortilla shells. Yeah, it's enchiladas.
Yeah, just stick it in the oven. Let it cook itself.
The last question of the show, which is, where could people find out more about you?
Yeah, come find me at Traveler Charly with a Y. I'm mostly on Instagram. I repurpose my stuff and put it on TikTok too, but find me on Instagram. And I also have a mailing list and a mailing list series called Roth Freak Fridays, where every Friday I drop money gems about retirement accounts, in particular Roth 401ks, Roth IRAs. And I have a blog called Unicorn Millionaire. And last but not least, my podcast is called the Unicorn Millionaire Podcast. And I just celebrating releasing 103 episodes and 5K downloads. So just thank you. About half as much as you, but like most people don't make it past 6 episodes, y'all. So true. We got to celebrate these wins. So shout out to Anthony for having over 200 episodes released. That's a huge fucking deal.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, I mean, it's been a pleasure. I would love to have you on to kind of find out more about your adventures and so forth. And guys, if you guys are listening to this and just want to have have them on again. Let's go on and make this happen, because
yes,
learn more about this investing side of the house, as well as quitting your 9 to 5. This is something that a lot of people would like to do. And if that's you, let's talk about it.
yes.
So, Charly, it's been a pleasure. I can't wait to catch up with you again. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And everybody, thank you so much. We out. Peace.
Peace. This is so much fun.